We got Raptors versus 76ers, game one, best bets for you to place today. I'm your host, Daniel Alameda, and before we get into those best bets, go click subscribe. The team at TWSN is killing the NBA content, UFC, NFL, anything you guys need, we have it here, so go click subscribe. And if you also like making a little kashish, check the link in the description and join the TWSN betting Patreon. You won't regret it. So guys, game one, Raptors versus 76ers. I'm excited for this one. It's going to be a great series. We're going to break down game one, over, under, a couple player props I love. And also at the end, I got one bet for you to place for the entire series as a whole. For game one, the 76ers are favored by 4 points and the over under is 216. My first best bet is under 216 and here's why. First off, it's playoff basketball, right? Defenses get tighter, shooters get stiff, less transition, more half-court offense. That leads to longer possessions, which leads to less points. All 7 games from the infamous, 2019 playoff series went under this total. And also this year they played 4 games. The average of those 4 games was 210 total points. So like I said, this is the first game each of these are playing, in the playoffs. I expect this to be a low-scoring game, tightly contested, a lot of defense being played, a lot of missed shots, which is why I like the under 216 points. Now we're going to get into player props. I'm going to start off Joel Embiid under 33.5 points. Yes, it's scary, right? It's scary to bet against the best player in this series, but the Raptors have had, they forced some serious problems for Joel Embiid. In their 2019 series, Embiid only scored 30 plus in one of those 7 games. Also this year, his past 5 games, he's only hit the total in 2 of those 5 past games. So the Raptors, they play with a lot of length. You got OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, you got Boucher, Gary Trent, all these guys, they play with length. Nick Nurse is one of the best coaches in the league. He game plans for specific players. I guarantee you we'll see a lot of double teams on Joel Embiid, forcing him to pass the ball, which is why I'm going to go under. It is scary, but 33.5 points is a lot. I expect him to double team under 33 for Embiid. We're going to keep it on the 76ers side. TYRESE MAXEY over 17.5 points today. He surpassed his total in 5 of his last 6 games, and he's absolutely killing it from the 3-point line, shooting 56% from the field and also 45% from 3. Like I said, the defense is going to be focused on Joel Embiid. Maxey a lot of times is preferred, the number 1 option as a spot-up shooter. And I think that, James Harden is also going to be keyed in on. TYRESE MAXEY is going to have a field day. And he's also hit this line in each of his 3 games against the Toronto Raptors this year. So TYRESE MAXEY, I like over 17.5. Defense is focused on everyone else. Maxey hits 18. Let's switch it over to the Raptors side of things. I'm personally going to stay away from points for this first game because, like I said, defenses get tighter and the Raptors love to run transition. OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, Pascal Siakam, they all thrive in transition offense. So I want to see how did they get accustomed to that playoff, atmosphere. So if I'm not going points, Daniel, what are you going with? I'm going Fred VanVLEET over 5.5 assists. I know sometimes people don't like betting assists, but trust me, VanVLEET is bringing the ball up most of the time. He hit this in 8 of his past 11 playoff games. So he's dishing out the rock, and he's also hit this in 3 of his past 4 regular season games. VanVLEET, I don't really trust him to hit anything, maybe take a look at his 3-point line. I think it's 2.5 right now. I can see him chucking up at least 8 threes, hitting 3 of those threes, but I'm going to stick with him running the pick and roll, bringing the ball up the court, having 5.5 assists. It's a low line for him. Normally he's at 7 or 8. So Fred VanVLEET is the only player prop I'm going to roll with for the Toronto Raptors. So that does it for our player props for game one, but I want to talk about the series as a whole really quickly. I'm on the side of the Toronto Raptors, right? If you look at this series, Joel Embiid is hands down the best player. That's undoubtedly the best player. But besides that, the 76ers don't really have anybody else. Tobias Harris hasn't been a huge playoff performer. James Harden hasn't been the best playoff performer. And he also hasn't been good as of recently with the 76ers. So I'm going to, sprinkle a little bit on the Raptors to win the series. It's plus 150 and also the Raptors plus 1.5 games. That plus 1.5 is minus 155, but it gives me the ability to say, hey, the Raptors can take it to 7 and lose and I still win the bet. So like we talked about earlier, the length of the Raptors. They got OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Scotty Barnes, and you also got a huge coaching advantage with Nick Nurse. He's been there before. He's won a championship. So I'm going to take plus 1.5 Toronto Raptors and also sprinkle a little bit on them winning the series. Because in my opinion, this is a 50-50 series. This could go either way. But when I'm looking at it, the Raptors have been the hotter team. And I think as a whole, they're a more well-rounded team. They got more depth on their side. And I really, really like the Raptors to win this series. And if not, I'll take plus 1.5 games for them. That does it for this video. If you want to see more betting content, click subscribe, click the link in the description to join the betting Patreon, and we will be back here. Thank you all for coming.
Get up, let me begin. This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now, because it's the place that it all goes down.